Oh, that's encouraging. Fire! 18th of February, 10 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. I'm sure that's just for decoration. That has no purpose whatsoever in the proceedings. So this is the highest court in Great Britain, ellipses. The Old Bailey, ellipses. The centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court in Japan. Ellipses, it feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes worlds redundant. Whatever the country, determining person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. I mean, look, there's braziers of fire. Crowd of people ready to tear him apart. I'm ready to tear him apart. God, I love law. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes. What? Oh, he froze. Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it, ellipses. Dracula? Santa Claus? In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilty. I now call upon the counsels for prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Oh my God, he is Dracula! The prosecution, ellipses, is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey, ellipses. He, ellipses, really does look prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld, ellipses. Or perhaps inhabit a chaotic castle. Counsel for the defense, who may appear to be ellipses Eastern. Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yes, of course, Santa. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. And I couldn't be further from ready if I tried, ellipses. Those eyes please me. Ellipses, nipple knees. Ellipses! My nipples are showing? They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation, ellipses. They run wild, clinging to perhaps some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look, ellipses, of a sacrificial lamb. Ugh! Ellipses, a cold shiver ran down my spine all the way to the tip of my toes, ellipses. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Now, Mr. McGilty, ellipses. Yes, my lord? You stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You shall be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this, ellipses, foreigner? I should really check the court record if I want to save this man's life. I have nothing in the court record to save this man's life. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if the fella is a student from one little island off in the Far East. Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give the less fortunate a fair chance? I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Listen to Mr. McGilded, what a fine London gentleman! Did you hear that he donated £5,000 to the government the other day? Mother, please, may we go and play in Mr. McGilded's part? It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. It's definitely welcome news, and he certainly has a way with words. What is he even guilty of? I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquent report, Mr. McGill, and most laudable sentiments. Now, ellipses. Ellipses, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you, ellipses. Ellipses, that 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality here. Are you ready to proceed? I am going to have to do voices for every one of them. Oh god. One of them has a knife. I don't know, that guy on the left, he looks... I like that guy on the left, the stout one. Not so much the train conductor guy, is that... Nope, that's a carriage guy, I see the horseshoe. Seems to be a teacher. An old lady. Knifey McStabberson, a maid, and a banker. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Yes, my lord. If the task is to set robbers to the gallows, where they may belong, I'm more than ready. At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Ha! Any criminals will soon be wishing they'd never set eyes on me. She didn't say anything. Oh god, this guy's just You're drinking in the courtroom? He's got a horseshoe for a beard. Ellipses. I feel chew. Oh, don't worry about me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, these people are ellipses. The jury, yes, ellipses. That's something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right. I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on these opinions of these 6 jurors. The judge passes sentence according to law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense. And I'm pretty sure that drunk guy, he does not have any. So the defendant is ultimately judged with 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do jurors give their verdict? That I don't know, but probably has something to do with telepathy. Ellipses. I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Just like this man's charges, which we know nothing about. Oh god, we're so woefully underprepared. Mr. Naruhodo, ask for an extension. Yes, ellipses. Prosecute offense sentence. Ellipses. My lord. It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounced your fame, or at least returned to your coffin. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Ellipses. Infamy rather than name, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last, ellipses, spread my wings in this capacity. Oh god, they're not even trying to hide that he's Dracula. So, what brings you back? The thirst for blood? Maidens? Perhaps revenge on a certain family named Belmonts? Is there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware? Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Elegant ellipses. I leave that to your imagination. Ellipses, my lord. So, the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years, ellipses. Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. Ellipses, as you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity. We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. The incident took place in late evening 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason. He looks like a pretty simple guy. Sorry? Thrice? Ellipses? He was very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. Aww. The victim's corpse. The victim's corpse was discovered, omnibus, in service on the streets of London at the time. A dagger had been thrust into the victim's abdomen and is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Just look at all that delicious blood wasted. Pity. Here's the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, Consul. I shall accept and the photograph as evidence. Give. And one further item of evidence, ellipses. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. If the gloves are fit, you must not acquit. And these are ellipses. Good lord! Is that blood, Consul? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene, ellipses. Ellipses. These gore-soaked gloves, ellipses, were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. He could have been just trying to help the guy. What? Mr. McGilded's gloves, ellipses, had blood on them? Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. Okay. How did I get into this? Alright, here we go. I can actually look at things now. Yes. Thrice-Fired Mason, male, 54, brickmaker. Time and cause of death between 10 and 11 p.m., 15th of February. Stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife whilst journeying in an omnibus. I think they mean carriage. Died due to internal hemorrhaging resulting from the trauma. Okay, that's it? That's it. It's very simple. This is a color photograph. Not seeing anything suspicious at first glance. Wait a minute. What's that outside? Okay. Blood. Blood! This is definitely Ellipses' blood, isn't it? The most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No, ellipses. By the way, is Mr. McGilded right-handed? Yes, I believe so. He was toying with coin in his right hand a little earlier. Ha! Pity. Ellipses. If only he'd been left-handed. I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. Side either. Just want to give him a good once over. Alright, I don't see anything else. And nothing else there. Okay. I backed into a corner before I've even started ellipses. Continuing ellipses. According to the driver of the omnibus, ellipses, Ellipses. There were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2. Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. To the other, Ellipses. Ellipses was the accused, Magnus McGilded. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses! Well, ellipses. Rather damning circumstances, to the least. Defendant, what do you say? Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Well, of course, I have no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGill did. To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening. Whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness, and I always succumb to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? 'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord. And so it is. And when I opened me eyes again, ellipses. Ellipses, 'twas a desperate sight before me, the body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in me life. Ellipses. Now I ask yous, a good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach. Yeah, I kind of figured he just wanted to see if he was alright. Wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. So the blood got onto the hands then, after the man had been killed, ellipses. Unfortunately, ellipses. Ellipses. That statement of the driver's is only the beginning. What? It's not all of it? There were multiple witnesses, ellipses. Ellipses. To the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses! Ellipses! Order! 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 When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage. And there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence, ellipses. Ellipses. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. And we all know how pesky nails are in our coffins, don't we? Ellipses. Ellipses. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Ellipses. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once, that I may feast upon them. What? How is he called inside? Oh, no, I'm gonna have to do voices for them too. Witnesses, your names and occupations. And please give me some sort of visual cue to how you sound. My name is ellipses. Well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End. Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city. Ah, there's our banker. My name's Frust. Lady Frust. I, ellipses, make hats for gents. Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, ellipses. Ellipses, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir. That's right, sir. Very well, then. Let's proceed your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. What the witnesses saw. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then, out of the blue, the accused reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed, I did. I couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped the bus. And then, I saw it too. Okay. Ellipses. Unambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I have commanded them to testify. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Ellipses, I'd like to ask a question, if I may, as to why the dead are allowed to prosecute in England. Yes, counsel? Well, this testimony, ellipses. Ellipses makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Ellipses, why not? Well, ellipses, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. What is your point, peasant? Well, in that case, ellipses. Ellipses, how could the two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of a moving carriage. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Ellipses, 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 ellipses. How, ellipses, point? I'd read that civilization in the Eastern nations was a good century behind our own. You are here in London yourself. And you're really so ignorant about our omnibuses? I'm pretty ignorant about what the hell an omnibus is too. Huh? Tell me, my Nepalese friend, ellipses, have you ever traveled in an omnibus? Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Well, ellipses. No, ellipses. We, ellipses, only arrived in London this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves the actual scene of the crime, that is. What? Ellipses? Do you mean, ellipses? The actual scene? How? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Ellipses, presumably you understand that much, peasant? Yes, ellipses. The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building. Here, ellipses? What? The entire carriage? Bailiff! Bring forth the stricken omnibus! I command you! Oh, they just wheeled it on in there. Oh, it's like a double-decker! So, that's an omnibus, ellipses. The omnibus, ellipses. I can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. Oh, neat. 4 passengers seated inside the enclosed cabin and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. And London rains a lot. That can't be comfortable. Every Londoner knows, ellipses, that the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had on the top of an omnibus. But this guy knew he was going to go to sleep. Wouldn't he want to be inside the carriage? And I should point out to our foreign guests, ellipses, that there's a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Ah, the skylight, ellipses. Oh, ellipses. The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on the omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight. Look, ellipses. That makes perfect sense, ellipses. Well, counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom. There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. Ellipses. That is the prosecution's wish. Very well. I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. That's huge, man. Can I look at it? I can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered as evidence? Can I... Oh, there's a lot. There is a lot. Can you see underneath? Oh, the Phoenix Wright omnibus. Cute. That's cute. You certainly can see inside the carriage through this opening, that's for sure. Yes, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin, so I'm sure the witnesses would have been able to see quite clearly. That's not good for us, Ellipses. Oh, can I open it? Ellipses, well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? Ugh, Ellipses. Scene of a murder, Ellipses. It's horrible, Ellipses. Oh, it looks nice in here. This seat looks reasonably soft, but it's actually rather hard when you sit on it. And only just wide enough for two gentlemen to sit side by side, really. Of course, an English gentlewoman would be dressed in such finery, Ellipses. Ellipses, it would be quite impossible for her to climb up to the roof deck, so she would have to be seated in here. A woman in a kimono would have the same problem. Ellipses, women's clothes are very impractical, aren't they? Ah, that's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start in 6 months from now. That's not foreshadowing anything. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exposition. Oh, the Crystal Tower, Ellipses! It's under construction already, I believe. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event! Ah, that's the poster for the great exhibition. Oh, again? That's blood that's soaked into the seat. Victims, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab someone in full view of other passengers like that? I wonder, Ellipses. Well, it was after dark. And there was a lamp in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside through the skylight. Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. Okay, I do see a lamp. Large skylight, isn't it? Yes, quite large enough to afford a good view into the cabin from the roof deck. And here doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any description, Ellipses. So I suppose it can't be opened from the inside of the cabin at least? Okay. Alright. Is this a handle? This seat has a handle, it seems, Ellipses. Oh, wow! Luggage! It looks like all sorts of equipment might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubes, tools to repair, wheels, blankets, horseshoeing, tools, ellipses. So it's all a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems. Doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure. Okay, I thought it was luggage at first. Well, Ellipses. I don't imagine it would be very convenient for that purpose anyway. Okay. I figured it would be different if there was... It's just gonna be the same thing no matter what I click on. Alright. There's none on this side. Alright. Okay, we took a good look. Have you seen enough? Let's step back outside then. Seems to be something written there as well. That's the yoke for the horses. Alright. Oh, I can click on the benches. So this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights with the cold air rushing past them. Sometimes it's raining too, Ryunosuke. London is not very nice with its weather. And they have to pay money to do so? Brr. Ellipses. I can't imagine how cold I must feel. That ellipses. It just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged around the city in freezing cold as punishment? Ellipses, perhaps that is the real price you pay to stay out late. Gotta go out late to party, Ryunosuke. I guess that's it. Yes! Great Britain is simply extraordinary! I could help myself by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing it's here. Already did. I'm good. Let us continue with the proceedings then. Your cross-examination council. Peasant. Pray, don't expect this Nipponese stray to understand the intricacies of a British court's cross-examination rights. Alright, ellipses. My first cross-examination in a British court, ellipses. Focus, Ryunosuke, ellipses. Focus! Oh, now they're stained glass. That's pretty cool. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. And out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. That's right! He stabbed him! I screamed, I did. Couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus. And I saw it too. Little blue. Okay, I'm going to press this. Left. Hold it! You actually saw the exact moment it happened? Didn't I already testify to that? Ellipses. Or your fair, drinking, hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. Okay, I've got to get them to disagree with each other. This is no good. I've really got his back up. Ellipses, perhaps you could just tell us what you saw in a little... My lord? Juror number 3? What's the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what, Ellipses? I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. always up to something or another, and they shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, Ellipses, he can't fool me. Are you kidding me? There's no point wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter anyway. That's precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it is my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. Really? What the... Oopsies. What is happening here? Let me see. Ellipses. Ah, yes, it seems this is how the members of the jury give their verdicts. Ellipses. With fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. And fire for death. As 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, Ellipses. Ellipses, one by one, they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice. Ellipses, as we saw a moment ago. Without deliberation, apparently. So, if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean ellipses? Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Thoughtful ellipses. Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Lord Dracula will not win this day. Ugh, ellipses. Now I'm even more worried than I was before. Ellipses. Very well. Court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination. Ah, ellipses. This is a nightmare, ellipses. I've only got 4 left. That's right, you stabbed him. I screamed. I did. Couldn't help it. Press this. Hold it! Yes, ellipses. I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it? Oh, yes, sir. That's right, sir. Yes, that was so cold it was, sir. For freezing, in fact. And you had 4 passengers on board at the time. Is that correct? Yes, that's right, sir. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus, of course, though. No. And there was no passengers when the incident took place. No one alighted, for example. You are quite right to that, sir. No passengers like that, no, none. Nobody fled the scene of the crime. I have to say, the boss insists on running, he does, every evening, the last bus of the day. Did he die? But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, sorry to have to say, ellipses. What do you mean by that? I guess it's not profitable to be out that last hour? Well, that it being so cold and everything, I'm only making 20 pence on the run, you see, ellipses. Yeah, it's not. They're not prime hours to go home. Everyone has probably gone home in the evening before the sun's gone down. Yes, I spent much of the pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again. Them and the man accused. Hold it! He stabbed him, you say, and you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow when he was stabbed. And thinking about a new hat design, you see. So I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then, ellipses, then I happened to look down through the skylight. It's sticking right out of his belly. That huge, great knife. A gruesome sight indeed. Ah, that didn't help me at all. The jury looked like they're even more convinced that my client did it than they were before, ellipses. It appears to have made everyone even more dubious that Mr. McGilded is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions, ellipses. Mr. Faust. Oh, yeah, yes, sir. This is the knife. You saw? Oh, good grief, yes, that's it. That's the very one, sir. Is that ellipses? Yes, Counsel. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart. You're not even trying to hide. He is Dracula. There's so many references. That blade is of considerable size, Counsel. It is, and furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. Letter M. Ellipses, which seems oddly familiar. McGilded. Ugh. Ellipses, please, no. Ellipses. M. Or Magnus, maybe. Or McGilded, possibly. Ellipses, take your pick. It seems this particular big name in London made a, ellipses, magnificent mistake. Gaze into my eyes.
Objection!
But no. Baby slap. But there's M's everywhere. Like ellipses, yes! Like in Mason!
Objection!
Holy crap, it's different. This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owed. No! Weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused. Ugh, ellipses. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, Counsel. Oh. My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption, ellipses. Ah, Joe number 2. Go on, ellipses. She's definitely going to throw the fire in, but I want to look. Murder weapon. That part is the sheath, isn't it? Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Do you not know how the sheath works? Do you need me to show you? Oh, sorry, yes. Ellipses, I just really don't like blades. Oh, ellipses. Those don't seem to be the words of a man with a large katana slung from his waist. You little bitch! That's not a blade, that's Kazuma's soul. Anyways, ellipses. There's no sense in not delaying it. Let's see what the blade looks like. Ew. Something's wrong here. If it was stuck in his belly, why isn't the blood all the way up to here? The dried blood is only there. Ugh. Ellipses. That's a lot of, like, blood. It surely is blood, you stupid idiot. The victims. Ugh. Ellipses. An English man's blood looks a lot like a Japanese man's blood. It's the same blood, you idiot! Did you think it wouldn't? Ellipses. Sorry, it's just that we've only arrived here in Great Britain. I'm finding it a little hard to adjust. Ellipses, yes, I do understand. Where is the M? Oh, there's the M. It's pretty nice. An ornate letter M, ellipses. Undeniably Mr. Magnus McGilded's initial. It's beautifully gilded, too. Must be very valuable, I should think. We're not going to need to rob that bank! Ellipses. Ah! What is it? Look at this M, ellipses. Turn it upside down, it becomes a W. That could change everything. A W, ellipses. Ryunosuke, you're an idiot! Yes, this is one of those Ellipses, you know, turnabout cases, I'm sure of it. I'm afraid I don't know it all. But what I am sure of is that this is an M. You dumb piece of shit. Oh, well, the idea was quickly quashed, Ellipses. Yeah, I don't... That is definitely not a W. It is an M. Pretty sure it's an M. There's nothing in there. Just looking at all the things. Okay. Ah, juror number 2, go on. Mr. McGilded is a part of the society and gentleman. And a gentleman's word should be succinct. However, ellipses. Ellipses, those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait! What are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish! Half the jury has already made up its mind. No. I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. Ellipses. I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion. Oh, no. Is... Not again, ellipses. That's... Ellipses. 4 out of 6 jurors who have proposed a guilty verdict. You know what this means, Mr. Naruhado? Lord Dracula shall feed upon Mr. McGilden. There are only 2 left. We've had it, ellipses. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse, ellipses. Nevertheless, ellipses. Ellipses, what you need more than anything at this moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may fly, ellipses. We mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But, ellipses. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. Press. Hold it! Ellipses. What exactly did you say? Oh, well, sir, it would be the passenger, sir. And yes, he could collapse on the floor, he was. And by passenger, obviously you were referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. And the other passenger, and the knife in his hand, looked like this. Ellipses. By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded. And then he plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. What? My lord, I wish to speak. Yes, juror number 5? Do I take it that you too, ellipses? Master of London Guild Coachman, ellipses? Ellipses, the idea of murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. Horse is bolted, as they say. No, please, just keep an open mind a little longer. Gee up now, Silverblaze. Finish is in sight. Oh no. Beppo is a long-serving member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir. Ugh. This is too unkind, sir. Ellipses. Which now means that 5 jurors agree to condemn this man. His blood shall be mine tonight. Grandma, you're my only hope. Madam Juror number 6. Ellipses. Yes, dear? What can I do for you? You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand. Oh, yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know. Then, pray tell, why are you yet to propose your lenient? Do you require? Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Comforting ellipses. Well, dear, thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always gotta go to the park around this time of day and sit on a nice bench to get on with my knitting. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Unconcerned ellipses. It's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. Ellipses? The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have it in him to take another man's life. He's always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Another may go to the McGilded's public library later and borrow some more books. How many Londoners live with their heads in their clouds? Do you people not know ellipses? Ellipses, what kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is? What kind of a man is he? Philanthropist Magnus McGilded, Ellipses. Ellipses has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did he get it from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one with the very darkest of souls. Takes one to know one. What? Stone the crows. McGilded lends money at exorbitant rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak. Everything is alluding to you being Lord Dracula. I've never heard any mention of that before, Ellipses. Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madam. So, this thought had not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? Ellipses, he's right. What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service? Ellipses. You're not saying that, Ellipses. The victim, poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accursed Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts. Good gracious. The brickmaker was a destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, his pitiful soul, the very last thing he owned taken from him, Ellipses, his life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Ellipses Magnus McGilded. I don't believe it.
Hold it!
If I may add something briefly, Ellipses. Mrs. Sato? You claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded, Ellipses. Ellipses, but where is the evidence to support your claim? Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Oh god, it's blood. ellipses. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hollow chalice in a court of law, ellipses. You must have blood. Aha, there it is. Lord Van Zeek's hallowed chalice. It always brings a smile to my face when he drinks the blood of the innocent in my presence. Oh. How can this be considered acceptable? Ellipses, but I find myself in an unexpectedly good humor. I have heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, ellipses, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. Ryunosuke, I looked into his eyes. As judicial assistance to the defense, I am simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage, ellipses, is in vain. Like the sort of veins I tap. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You'll find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Oh, ellipses. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence, ellipses. Ellipses, and pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time. A marvelous toast, Counsel. I would gladly accept the new evidence. Where did it go? Ah, yes, 20 guineas, ellipses. The victim owed a considerable sum. And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Well, it would seem I've ellipsed. Ellipses, I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. Regrettably, madam. This is the modus operandi of the accused. And it's such pretty little bark, too. Ellipses, what a scoundrel! Ellipses, 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 still ellipses. Ellipses, maybe it's all for the best. Feast upon his soul, Lord Dracula. Wait a minute. Let's think about this a little more before. I won't stand for this nonsense. This man is dead. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Ellipses of defeat. That was it. Ellipses. That was the last juror's decision. Ellipses. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. I knew you were a little bitch. Ellipses. According to this Encyclopedia of British Law, ellipses, we lost. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, ellipses, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. Ellipses, the final verdict. Ellipses, it's over then. Oh! There's a footnote, though. A footnote? However, the defense... All members of the jury are now in agreement in this case. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of the land, I will now conclude the trial, ellipses. Ellipses, by delivering my final verdict. Ellipses, I trust there are no objections. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Frustrated ellipses. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. More frustrated ellipses. Mr. Sato, just tell me one thing, ellipses. Oh, yes? You were in the middle of saying something before. A footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense, ellipses. What did it say next? Oh, yes, of course. One moment, ellipses. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, ellipses, we will draw the trial out 6 more hours for no reason. Yep, that pretty much goes with what the game does. Ellipses, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. And the footnote says, ellipses, however the defense, ellipses, has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. Oh no. Oh no. Ellipses, summation, ellipses, examination, ellipses?
Objection!
Ellipses, a summation, examination? From which century has that tome here have been resurrected? Oh god, Sykes! Oh, I didn't think there would be any more. There's gonna be a lot more references to Dracula. Ah! Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten, and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. Oh, ellipses. He's so sexy, Mr. Naruhodo. What even is it, Mrs. Sato? This so-called summation examination? Oh, ellipses. One moment, and I'll read about it. Take up everyone's time in court. Ellipses. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails? Typical Nipponese. Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand, ellipses. First, we have to turn it off and on again. It seems that under this procedure, we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what exactly, ellipses? Appeal to them to change their learning and reverse their decisions. And it says here that, ellipses, actually right, ellipses. Ellipses, if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decision, ellipses. Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. That procedure became something of a formality with no practice benefit, really, so it fell out of use. I wonder why, ellipses. Could it be that people are irrational and unpredictable, and generally do not cooperate with the law? No, that couldn't be it. Everyone submits to the will of the law. Everyone. Because it was devoid of purpose. Ellipses. Changing just one jury member's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Still ellipses. Yeah, still ellipses. Ellipses, I don't see any mention of the proceeding actually being formally revoked. Take that, Lord Dracula! What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, ellipses, it isn't yet extinct. Ellipses, this peasant. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? A summation examination, ellipses. Our last option available. Last option. Do we assert our right to carry it out or admit defeat? Well, you know, if I give it up, game's over, so assert our right. Smack! The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on Earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very high standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should be remained buried. Oh, God. And Sykes, don't do this to me.
Objection!
But if it's alright, it's alright. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. The defense's petition is perfectly valid. Court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness, ellipses. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? Well, I'm not, ellipses. There's no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so, ellipses. All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision. On what grounds, ellipses? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot, ellipses. Yep, irrational, impulsive, biased. Time to expose these people for who they are. This is most irregular. No mention of this was made before. I don't really hold with all this justifying luck. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Speedy ellipses. That seems to have thrown the jurors off, ellipses. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then, summation examination, ellipses. Defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe, ellipses. Ellipses, it might be the opportunity we've been looking for, ellipses, to turn this trial around. So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you, ellipses, to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of this most serious crime. Oh boy. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it must have been him. I trust the driver. He has excellent memory, it seems, for passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. He stuck the chap next to him like this! Brazen, I say. Absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collated all statements thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. Wait a second. 4 times 4 is 16. Scoundrel! Stabbing a poor old man on the floor? It beggars belief? I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Ellipses. Some of the jurors don't seem to have whole, wonderfully formed arguments. Oh, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language, ellipses. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Because that would be too goddamn simple! Oh. I thought it was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some kind of heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, ellipses. Ellipses, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But, ellipses. They've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Her pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. And what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear. I was just citing what I read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo. No need to snap at me like a little bitch. Alright, I'm sorry. Ellipses, do you have any idea how to make this work then? Well, from what I can understand, Ellipses, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. Like the whole 16 is not 20 thing. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, Ellipses, they're complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And, Ellipses, that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. Divide and conquer. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, Ellipses, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other, make them rip apart, dance for Lord Dracula by puppets! I see. So it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, Ellipses, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Ellipses. Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down, Ellipses. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. Ellipses. No, that's not right, Ellipses. I have to pull this off. Can we start the proceedings, Counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Oh boy. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it must have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. Poor passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. Hold it! But does his ability to recall his takings that night really tell us how trustworthy the man is? I manage all his lordship cash affairs, so I'm very particular when it comes to accounts. I see, Ellipses. A single penny can mean the difference between life and death after all, can't it? Ellipses, that's a saying in your country? My point is, a man who minds his figures is a man you can trust. Those of us in service would swear to it, sir. Does that bench really need any more polishing, Ellipses? So if the good driver says he saw Mr. McGill in the act, I don't doubt him. The only task left to do today is disposing of the rubbish. Ah, now wait a minute, Ellipses. One of those other jurors mentioned something about money, I think. Now would be a very good time to listen carefully to the jurors' statements again, Mr. Naruto. You noticed an inconsistency in what 2 different jurors are saying, Ellipses. You can make them fight to the death! Ellipses, I should expose it by putting them against each other. Yes, let's see if I can do just that. Ellipses. He stuck the chap, but didn't like this. Brazen, I say, absolutely brazen. I've simply typed and collated all statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You could trust the guild. Fair fares are model. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. Hold it! That's how much it costs to take the omnibus? That's right. As a guild master, I decided to set a policy for all drivers across the city. 1 fare, no matter which bus you take, or how far you're going. That's rather generous. You have to compete with the rise of motor car, you see. Us postmen have to make a stand together. Motor cars, you say? Yes. This motor's what the buses is extremely damaging to our calls. It's beyond pale. It'll lead to a decline in passengers, you mark my words. It's all that rascal's fault. He has to pay. For the crime or the buses he's worried about, Ellipses? Anyway, I remember my guild is reliable and trustworthy. So if the driver says he saw him do it, then the fellow in the dock is as guilty as sin. Wait a minute. He said something about stopping at the bar just to warm up. Was he fleecing the people at the last hour so he could get the beer? Hold it! And it's gonna do the same thing. Yeah, they did. This one. Objection! Those two statements clearly contradict each other. They do? Explain yourself, counsel. Me? Oh dear, what have I said? I swear on Silverblaze's maiden name, I haven't the first idea what you're talking about. According to the group testimony we've heard so far, Ellipses, there are 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question. According to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. Quite right. I have the precise details typed neatly right here in front of me. And the juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus, Ellipses, is always 4 pence. That it is. Fair and convenient single price. Just the way old London carriages should operate. That doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts. Wait, why, man, why? 4 passengers paying 4 pence each? If you do the multiplication, Ellipses. Ah! It would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Ellipses, or precisely, 1 person's fare. 1 person's fare? Yes. In other words, on the omnibus that night, Ellipses, it's distinct possibility, Ellipses, there was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Good gracious. This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men. One and all, trustworthiness is all watchword. The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. I beg your pardon? Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, Ellipses, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he let nefarious characters ride his omnibus. Ellipses. Right then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end, Well, according to my book here, Ellipses, you simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side of the set of scales. Of course, the way justice was meant to work. With fire! Now hold your horses there, coachman. We're all in agreement. Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo. Oh, this is all very irritating, Ellipses. Begging your pardon, sir. Going to have to do the same. For the love of Mike, not you as well! penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exact standards in financial manners. Oh, really? I, for one, it's the only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it! We can manage to change just 2 more jurors' minds. Ellipses, we can force the trial to continue. We could be here for 6 more hours, possibly days. Isn't that fun? 2 more ellipses. Actually, ellipses. Ellipses, there is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. And that's where you must strike next. So I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertions. Make them die! Bleed! Dance puppets for Lord Dracula! Exactly! You can do it! Well, scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination. We gave it a very silly name. Objection! You too. Those 2 statements are completely contradictory. What? Explain to counsel, post haste. Oh, dearie me. I was only knitting a jumper for my other half. So it's claptrap. Does contradictory even mean, I ask you? We've heard from more than one of witnesses, ellipses, that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3, ellipses. What? You see I'm busy here? Ellipses. How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it? Ah, want to test me, do you? It's like this. Stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. Just like the Pranker said. Yes, it was Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true. Now then, juror number 6, ellipses. Ellipses, oh, that's me, isn't it? What can I do for you, young man? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam? Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, ellipses. Ellipses, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. Ellipses, the coachman said so. Now don't move. Take a look at these 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. Well, I never. They're ellipses. They're stabbing in totally different directions. What? Bless my stitches. What a muddle. Wait, what this tells us, ellipses. Ellipses is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses is telling the truth. Oh! But why? Why the dickens would they lie? I don't know yet. But what I do know, ellipses, is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Slam! Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in good conscience? Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me, ellipses. Can't abide people telling lies. Burn in fires of justice! The scales! falls! Ellipses! I don't believe it! Wait! Now hear this, villagers! I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him, his black suit. He's ellipses, he's ellipses. Devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all. Oh, he was the other guy in the carriage that night. I'm calling it. If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this? This is the second time I've been accused of being a wizard. Answer me this, Dark Jinx. Huh? Me? What exactly is the problem? What of it if two witnesses have slightly different recollections of events? What of it? Let's say, Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus. This young dandy saw him do it. Now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then Shylock stabbed him yet again. And this old lady saw him do it. Well, it's to say it did happen like that, hmm? Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knife to you. Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you. Blood for the blood god! Ugh, ellipses. They're ready to kill each other now, ellipses. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the other two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime? I'm gonna say it's out of the question. Because I'm going to defy all logic and do it anyway. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman, ellipses. What is it, Dark Jinx? Come out with it! Slam! Ellipses, what you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses! What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm ellipses. I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So, where's your evidence, man? That's what I want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. What you say is out of the question. Show me some proof. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. If he was stabbed on the floor, there would have been blood on the floor, not the cushion. Looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question the two witnesses saw two different motions of the same crime. Ellipses, as proven by ellipses. There's no blood. He didn't fall, and he didn't get stabbed on the floor. Take that! Oh, I'm wrong. Take that! I'm gonna say this. Oh no, it's not that! Come on! I was so sure.
Take that!
Oh, I'm messing up so bad. I think I'm just too tired. I swear, I had reasons for selecting those.
Take that!
Ah, yes, the autopsy report that says he was stabbed once. The abdomen. Ellipses. Ellipses, only once. Of course, the autopsy report that tells me the cause of death. Not the implements that would support the autopsy. Only once? It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means these witnesses couldn't have possibly seen it happen 2 different times. Grr, ellipses, grr, ellipses. Alright. Ellipses, I concede defeat. Where'd the knife go? Ellipses, wait. That means ellipses. Ellipses. 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo! If only you had chosen the autopsy before instead of looking for the evidence that supported the autopsy, we would have won sooner, but that's okay. We've won! What are you playing at, you dandy fool? Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me. But we had a consensus. I said shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. If the chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, ellipses. Ellipses, I'll take the razor-sharp blade, ellipses, and shave every last hair off his head. Gross. That can't taste good. Please tell me he's a barber, ellipses. Well, quite a remarkable turn of events, ellipses. Ellipses. The defense's summation exclamation has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty, ellipses, and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jurors for me to abdicate, ellipses. Ellipses, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places. I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, ellipses, Lord Van Zykes, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please. Oh, God. Oh, whoa! Having savored the rich aroma of carne in the contents of this hallowed chalice, ellipses. Ellipses, it may seem crash to crush it to dust. Ellipses, pray forgive the discourtesy. God, this is dramatic. Lord Van Zykes. Brr. Ellipses, is it cold in here? Is it just me? As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honor the deathly silence. Ellipses, and listen to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Ellipses, 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 ellipses. Ellipses, well, no matter. There's nothing so hard to prove as self-evident truth, it would seem. No, ellipses. Why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Ooh! Bring forth the witnesses once more, that we may feast upon them. Oh, God. Witnesses, I trust you have heard the summation examination we have had to ellipses endure. It is an entertaining name, is it not? Oh, yes, sir, that I did, sir. Of course I heard it. Oh, yes, sir, I heard it. You, sir, on the under, ellipses, coachman, I believe it's Beppo? Yes, sir, my lord, sir. It transpires that in your previous testimony, ellipses, you are attempting to veil the presence of a fifth passenger on your omnibus, ellipses, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind, sir. Oh, ellipses, oh, me Dio, ellipses, oh, ellipses. Now then, witnesses, I hereby call upon you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. We will say that as many times as possible. I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear! Ellipses. Ellipses. Well, I, for one, I was told to pay 5 pence for the bus. I thought so. He was fleecing people. He wanted to get the booze for the way home because he was so freaking cold. He fiddled with us on the fare, he did. And I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. Ellipses, it's all too much. I tell you, I saw McGilden stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands. Oh yes, ellipses. Yes, he stabbed him. He did. Ellipses. I think so, yes. How could you have seen? You were facing the opposite way of the skylight. Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom fifth passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. Confusion has arisen from Kirchman's sly little ellipses cousinage. Ah, ellipses. Beppo, explain yourself. I am terribly sorry, Guildmaster. I'm pretty sure he fleeced him just to get the booze. The guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. I to understand you've been overcharging your passengers by a penny a fare? It's so cold, ellipses. And the last run of the day is always half empty, ellipses. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. You've been dishonest, coachman. Oh, ellipses. I'm sorry, ellipses. You're a disgrace, Beppo. A disgrace! And your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild. If I may, sir. Ellipses. I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week. What? 4 passengers at 5 pence each is... Ellipses, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently. I'm a mathematician! Ellipses. No, that ellipses figures. Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, ellipses, your cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Ellipses, absolutely! He's the only one that isn't afraid or doing anything. Why is he so composed? Only carry 4 passengers. Hold it! So, there were only 4 passengers on your carriage, but you did charge them the standard 4 pence pair. Is that right? Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. It's impossible to make the last run of the day. Hey, so I was so cold. all I could do to stop myself from passing out. Oopsies. I'm getting chilblains just listening to you. That was terrible. I wanted to give myself a pat on the back for keeping the bus running. Isn't a dedicated coachman to serve an extra penny per passenger? Oh god, he's in rough shape. Ellipses, you're digging a deeper hole for yourself here, Ellipses. Only there had been a fifth passenger on the omnibus that night, Ellipses. Then we would have another suspect. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Evil ellipses. Oops. Well, I, for one, was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bullet! Does that mean everyone on board that night paid 5 pence instead of 4? Well, I paid 5 pence too, sir. I just told you that I did. A flat fare 5 pence across the board. It's not something to be proud of, Ellipses. The so-called discrepancy, my friend, identified was nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed is gone. Dead, Ellipses, and buried, Ellipses. I'd been happy if I had ever existed in the first place, Ellipses. He fiddled with us on the fair, he did. And then I saw the blood-curdling sight as well, Ellipses. It was all she wanted! This blood-curdling sight, Ellipses. You mean the murder, I presume? Yes, sir. A loathsome sight. No one should have to witness the horror in the eyes of a man the moment his life is taken. Oh, well, Ellipses, not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment the gent was stabbed. Good gracious, really? We have another witness who did, however. Banco has already testified to it. Mr. First didn't actually see the point at which the victim was killed? It may turn out to be very significant, Ellipses. I heard the banker gent next to me take a sharp intake of breath, see? That's when I looked through the glass. That's when I saw the horrible blade poking out from his belly, all covered in blood. Horrible blade poking out from his belly? Wait, so he was stabbed from behind? Every time I see a knife now, I can't help screaming, even when I'm eating, Ellipses. I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands. Hold it! So, you saw the defendant, Mr. McGilded, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him. Ellipses. That's what I said, isn't it? It's bothering me before. This was. Just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there was only 2 of them inside the carriage, wasn't there? Ellipses, and there wasn't much talk of a 5th passenger. But as of yet, Ellipses, 0 evidence. What do you always see town for here, eh? It's all black and white. Man's guilty. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just ellipses jars with me, ellipses. I wish I could work out what it was, ellipses. Oh yes, he stabbed him. Oh, no, I didn't mean to do that. Oh no. Nope. Nope. Repetitive statements don't count. I didn't mean to do that. Earlier, you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Oh, yes, that's right. You said that the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding the knife like an ice pick grip. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. I suppose, ellipses. Ellipses, I might have ellipses, you know, yes, ellipses. Put the cart before the horse, maybe, ellipses. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it, ellipses. I was driving the horses when I heard a scream from the seats of the roof deck. Oh, I expected that was me, sir. Then when I turned around, ellipses, yes, I saw it through the skylight. The gentleman was on the floor, and the knife was sticking up from his midriff. I don't think so. I think the seat is in the way of the skylight. That's right, yes. And the fellow holding the handle was the famous man, yes. So, in short, ellipses, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all. Ellipses. Ellipses. I really thought that I did, but ellipses. Ellipses, but when I go over it again in my head, ellipses. Ellipses, no, I suppose I didn't actually see it. Ooh.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay? Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. You didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Ellipses. Ellipses, are you asking or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly, Ellipses. You've just happened to have seen the exact moment the crime was committed? No chance. Well, it is a little hard to believe, sir. Unless you spend your time peeping through a skylight on the top of an omnibus, that is. Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker, I'll have you know. I know what I saw. I remember it as clear as the Ballock day. It was a crime scene. I don't mind telling you, ellipses. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord. I would ask that you supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that all right. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after the butcher stabbed the man? Blood-soaked hands, you say?
Objection!
Blood-soaked ellipses hands? Well, I admit that soaked might be laying it on a little thick, but ellipses. But anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay. That's a little more than peculiar. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGill did, on the night in question. Oh, ellipses, yes, ellipses, right, ellipses. There certainly does appear to be a sizable dark stain there, but, as I'm sure you can clearly see, ellipses. Ellipses, it's only on the right-hand glove. What? Oh, okay. In short, Mr. Fairplay, ellipses. Ellipses, your testimony is inconsistent. Yeah. But, ellipses, no, that can't be right. So you're the liar here, then? Ah! That's right, you were clear about it. You said, it was both hands. Ellipses. Mr. Fairplay, your last statement was a lie, ellipses. Ellipses. It calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed? Ellipses. But is that really the truth? Ellipses. Well, ellipses. Ellipses.
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't with both hands. It was only one. The fact remains, ellipses. Ellipses. The victim's blood was on the accused. And I know blood.
Objection!
No. Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood all over both hands. Which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Why? Why? I'm a city banker, for pity's sake. What? My word should be, ellipses, the golden standard. Gentlemen, let some gutter snap. Upstanding members of society don't provocate. He's claiming to have no reason to lie, ellipses. He's also really chowing down on that warning stuff. But is that really the case? Mr. Naruhodo! We had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying, ellipses. Like, say, oh, I don't know. Debtor's ledger. Ellipses, this portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry. Oh dear. Ellipses, do you really think we ought to look inside? Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, do we? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Actually, I wonder, ellipses. I assure you, we will not find Mr. Sloane's name in here. Well, let's see what we find. Ellipses. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Look at all this drug money. Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Oopsies. Ah, goodness! What is it? Look at this! Do you see the name here? Bruce Fairplay. I thought so. Ellipses. Ellipses. So... that mean to me? It does sound strangely familiar, actually, ellipses. Yeah, it's Fairplay is the guy in front of you lying. Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at this very moment while we're relating important document. Ah, yes, of course, the banker. Why is his name in here? Because he owes money, you dumb piece of shit. Oopsies. What? He borrowed 20 guineas, did he? Wow, 20 guineas. That's the exact amount that guy was murdered over. The bricklayer. What a coincidence. And look, the repayment date is fast approaching, much like the brickmaker. I wonder. It's possible that it's just a coincidence, of course. This could be very useful information. I think he actually is the murderer, though. It's more than a coincidence. Oh, yes. Ellipses, it could turn the tide of this trial completely. Something to show this man has a compelling reason to lie in his testimony. Ellipses, I have evidence. My lord. Yes, counsel? The defense is ready to present evidence. By Jove, are you sure? Yes, evidence that would clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had reason to lie in his testimony. Ellipses. Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court.
Take that!
This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded. Ellipses. Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused's extortion. Oh, it's intoxicating. The point is, among the names of these debtors is your name, Ellipses. Ellipses, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. Ellipses. What? Mr. Fairplay. Are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No. Well, Ellipses, it's barely worthy of being called a debt, Ellipses. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say? I mean, a man was killed over it. Well, what of it? Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder, Ellipses. What would become of your debt in that case? These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, were the creditor, the defendant here, sentenced to capital punishment, Ellipses. Ellipses. All outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist. Cease to exist? Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have something you never in fact saw, Ellipses? Ellipses, and devious attempt, Ellipses, to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant. Ellipses. Order! Ellipses, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. Yes, my lord. Let me ask you again. And be aware that your answer may have the most severe implications upon your future, sir. Grrr, Ellipses. Did you or did you not, Ellipses? Ellipses, see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is allegedly to have thrust a knife into the victim. Ellipses. Ellipses. Oh, he's gonna break. Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony. Alright. Now let's not make a melodrama out of this. I think it's too damn late for that, sir. Perhaps I did, Ellipses, overstate the truth in a pinch. A pinch? But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on McGilded's hands. Both.
Objection!
And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have as evidence, is stained. Grr, Ellipses. So you keep saying. Ellipses. I wonder if they might be allowed to speak, sir. Go ahead, Mr. First. Well, the thing is, Ellipses, I think I remember seeing it myself, as it happens. Seeing what? The blood, sir. On the assailant's hands. I think, Ellipses. Yes. I'm almost certain it was on both of his hands, not just one. What? Ellipses? What? Oh, God. It would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. Oh, for the love of God, no. This time, I'd like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Ellipses, do I make myself perfectly clear? Stretch this out as much as possible. Ellipses. Mr. Naruhado, I need a potty break. This is good news. Of course, the trial seems to have shifted slightly at last. Just like it shifted slightly at last time. It's all going according to a very stretched out plan. Yes. I might finally have a chance to turn things around here, Ellipses. Again, a third time. Oh. Man. I think I'll call it here. I've had enough. Oh, God. Game, why do you do this to me? Save there, just in case. Alright, thank you for joining me. Have a good one.